Hey Raiders fans, welcome back to the channel. We're diving into an exclusive breakdown of some of the hottest topics surrounding our beloved Las Vegas Raiders. Before we jump into the action, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash that like button because you do not want to miss any breaking news, exclusive updates, or insider content about this team. If you're a true Raiders fan, this is the place to be, and we want to make sure you stay on top of all the roster moves, training camp updates, and preseason performances that could determine the future of this franchise. Today, we're going to focus on the players who are truly on the hot seat right now. These are the guys who have a lot riding on their shoulders during training camp, joint practices, and the preseason games. A lot of the players we're discussing have already been featured in our previous videos where I highlighted potential roster candidates, players who I believed had a real shot at making this team. Some of them have shown flashes, others have struggled, and now it's all coming down to who can rise to the occasion and impress the coaching staff. If these players don't step up, their spot on the Raiders roster could be in serious jeopardy. We're going to rank these players from 10 down to 1, with number 1 being the player who I think is truly in the hottest seat. Starting off at number 10, we have linebacker Cody Lindenberg. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Mitch, he was just drafted. That's true. The Raiders picked Lindenberg in the 7th round, but being drafted doesn't automatically guarantee a roster spot, especially in a competitive linebacker group like this. Right now, if the Raiders are keeping 5 linebackers, Lindenberg might be on the edge of that 5th spot, and it's not a sure thing he holds it. He's competing with players like Tommy Eichenberg, and the top 4 are already established with Jermaine Pratt, Alanon Roberts, and Devin White. In the recent preseason game against Seattle, Lindenberg played 25 snaps and earned a 53.8 overall PFF grade. Not terrible, but not eye-popping either. And we can't forget about Matt Jones, who has been generating some buzz and could factor into the mix as well. The point here is simple. Lindenberg has potential, but he's far from guaranteed a spot, and he needs to show more in upcoming practices and games. Next up at number 9 is quarterback Darn Holmes. Earlier this week, Vincent Bodson called Holmes a lock, but I think that's a bit premature. Holmes hasn't yet proven he has a secure position, largely because the Raiders have been experimenting with different players in nickel packages and at cornerback and safety roles. Holmes didn't start against Seattle, only seeing 12 snaps, where he earned a 63.4 PFF grade. That's respectable, but the competition is stiff. Greedy Vance is a player the Raiders are clearly high on, and in a long-term view, the coaching staff might see him as a better option over the next 2 to 3 years. Kai Blue Kelly is another player getting significant reps and versatility looks. The Raiders are weighing options carefully, and Holmes might just be the odd man out if they prefer the versatility and potential of players like Vance and Kelly. At number 8, we have running back Sincere McCormack. McCormack is an interesting case. He's shown flashes, particularly in pass protection, which earned him an 82.8 PFF grade in the Seattle game. But he only played 14 snaps, less than players like Dylan Lowe and Collier. His roster chances depend less on running between the tackles and more on his ability to contribute on special teams and as a reliable blocker. McCormack's versatility in those areas will likely dictate whether he makes this roster, not just his rushing ability. The Raiders are evaluating multiple players in that running back and special teams mix, so McCormack's performance in these critical areas will be essential. At number 7, we have defensive tackle Leke FAU. FAU is battling injuries, and right now, he's not expected to play against the 49ers. His spot is precarious because every practice he misses gives other defensive tackles, like John Ulu, Zach Carter, Thomas Booker, and Tank Booker, more chances to impress the coaching staff. The Raiders need players who are consistently available, and FAU's current health issues could put him behind the curve in a competitive group. When Christian Wilkins was released, FAU was initially seen as a replacement, but the combination of injuries and missed opportunities puts him on the hot seat. His ability to prove he's healthy and dependable will be critical if he wants to stick around. Moving to number 6, we have safety/cornerback JT Woods. Woods was recently placed as the second depth option, essentially replacing Jacarian Bennett. While the Raiders like his versatility, his performance has been concerning. In the Seattle game, He played in the fourth quarter and struggled, earning a 35.6 overall PFF grade. The team also brought in Terrell Edmunds, a safety who could directly compete for snaps in a similar role. With Harper, Trey Taylor, Chris Smith, and Lonnie Johnson Jr. also in the mix, Woods needs to step up quickly. Right now, he's at risk of being edged out if other players outperform him in the coming weeks. At number 5, we move to Chris Smith, a safety who has been filling in for Lonnie Johnson Jr. during training camp. Smith has been given significant opportunities, including the most defensive snaps in the Seattle game at 45. Unfortunately, his performance didn't quite meet expectations, with a 55.8 PFF grade. The Raiders' subsequent signing of Terrell Edmunds indicates they're actively seeking alternatives, suggesting that Smith's hot seat is real. Smith needs to elevate his play quickly to secure his position, where he could find himself replaced by someone the team perceives as more reliable or versatile. Number 4 is wide receiver Tommy Milloe, the Raiders' 6th-round pick out of Montana State. Milloe has struggled to make an impact, playing only 7 snaps against Seattle and finding himself buried at the bottom of the depth chart. This is particularly concerning given the Raiders' win-now approach. While Milloe is a project with potential to develop over the next 2 to 3 years, he currently ranks behind other receivers like Alex Bachman and Philip Dorsett in terms of immediate contribution. For now, Milloe is on the hot seat because he needs to show that he can help the team this season, even as a developing talent. At number 3, we have linebacker Omari Gaynor. Gaynor is in an unfortunate spot, not because he's underperforming necessarily, but because of roster construction and scheme fit. The Raiders added Jamal Adams and rely on Jermaine Pratt, Devin White, and Alanon Roberts, with Eichenberg, Lindenberg, and Matt Jones all in the mix. Gaynor's snap count has been limited, and despite showing effort and skill, the current environment doesn't favor him. His roster status is uncertain, and he could be edged out simply due to depth chart realities rather than performance. Coming up, we have our number 2 and number 1 hot seat players, who are arguably the most at risk if they don't step up in the immediate future. These players have the most to prove in practice, preseason matchups, and team activities. Fans following this closely might already have an idea of who will top the list, but I'm going to provide insight into why these player situations are particularly precarious. Now, let's move to the player who I've designated as the number 1 hot seat Raider. This is the player who is under the most scrutiny and whose spot on the team is most precarious. It's quarterback Derek Carr. Yes, Derek Carr. I know this will spark debate, but let me explain why he is at the top of the hot seat list. Carr has been the face of his franchise for years, and there's no denying his talent, leadership, and ability to make big plays. But with the Raiders aiming for immediate contention, the coaching staff has made it clear that performance at the highest level is non-negotiable. Over the past season, Carr had moments where he appeared elite, making clutch throws, engineering game-winning drives, and leading the team in high-pressure situations. But there were also stretches where he struggled with accuracy, decision-making, and consistency, particularly in critical third down and red zone situations. In training camp, the preseason snaps have been mixed. Against Seattle, Carr played 42 snaps, threw for 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, and earned a 63.5 PFF grade. That's solid, but in a competitive AFC West division and with the Raiders' playoff aspirations, solid is not enough. The coaching staff needs great, and anything less puts his spot under intense evaluation. Carr's hot seat status isn't just about individual performance. It's about fit, expectations, and organizational direction. The Raiders have invested heavily in weapons around him, from wide receivers to tight ends and running backs, with the goal of creating a high-powered offense. If Carr can't consistently utilize that talent, the team risks falling short of its goals. Add to this the rising pressure from backups who have impressed in practice and preseason appearances, and the situation becomes clear. Every throw, every decision, every pre-snap read is under a microscope. The Raiders are looking for precision, leadership, and execution, and if Carr fails to deliver, the franchise could be forced to explore alternatives sooner than anyone expected. Beyond these 2 players, there are subtle but important shifts happening across the roster that influence the hot seat narrative. Offensive linemen, for instance, have been under evaluation in almost every drill. While none may rank as high as Harris or Carr in terms of immediate scrutiny, several linemen are walking a fine line. The Raiders are emphasizing versatility, footwork, and awareness, and players who falter in these areas could easily find themselves replaced by younger, more adaptable prospects. The coaching staff has stressed that every snap matters, and in a league where depth and health are critical, even minor mistakes can have major implications for roster decisions. Similarly, wide receivers not previously highlighted on the hot seat list are experiencing pressure behind the scenes. The Raiders have a deep group, and with new draft picks and free agent additions, the competition is intense. For some, this is an opportunity. For others, it's a potential career-defining moment. The ability to separate from coverage, run crisp routes, and make contested catches is under the microscope. Every dropped pass, every misstep in route execution, and every missed block can contribute to being labeled a hot seat player. Coaches are evaluating both game tape and practice performance meticulously, ensuring that every roster spot is justified by production and reliability. Special teams players, too, face an invisible but real pressure. The Raiders have historically leaned on depth from special teams to help secure final roster spots, and this year is no different. Returners, gunners, and coverage specialists are all being scrutinized for their contributions. Even players who shine in their primary positions are not immune if their special teams play is inconsistent. Coaches have emphasized that versatility can be the difference between making the 53-man roster and being cut, and this mentality trickles down to every player on the bubble. Health and availability continue to be decisive factors in the hot seat conversation. Players like Leke Feu, who have battled injuries, are constantly monitored to ensure they can stay on the field. Availability, after all, is part of performance. If a player can't stay healthy, the team may be forced to move on, regardless of talent. Even minor nagging injuries during training camp can become magnified under the intense scrutiny of preseason evaluation. The Raiders are emphasizing durability, preparation, and mental toughness, and those who falter in any of these areas find themselves precariously positioned. It's also worth noting the psychological factor. Being on the hot seat adds immense pressure, and mental toughness becomes just as important as physical ability. Players must stay focused, resilient, and adaptable, navigating both the grind of practice and the intensity of preseason games. Coaches are watching how these players respond to setbacks, how they maintain composure under pressure, and how they handle constructive criticism. Leadership, accountability, and professionalism are now part of the evaluation matrix. Finally, the hot seat discussion is dynamic. Players can rise off the list with a few standout performances or by demonstrating reliability and leadership in practice. Conversely, those who struggle under pressure or fail to adjust to coaching instructions can slide further down. This is the essence of the Raiders' approach. They reward performance and adaptability while maintaining accountability across the roster. So, Raiders fans, as we move deeper into training camp and the preseason, these hot seat players are the ones to watch closely. Jonathan Harris and Derek Carr represent the most immediate and high-profile examples, but the ripple effect extends across the roster. Every snap, every practice rep, every preseason moment matters. The team is evaluating not just who is talented, but who is reliable, consistent, and ready to contribute to a winning culture. This is a pivotal time for the Raiders, and the hot seat conversation reflects the stakes at every level of the team. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers have been circulating through the NFL circles that the Las Vegas Raiders may be quietly orchestrating one of the most formidable defensive transformations in recent memory. And at the center of this potential revolution is none other than Myles Garrett. The defensive end, known for his explosive first step and relentless motor, has reportedly been taking on a leadership role within the Raiders' front seven. a position that some insiders suggest could redefine the team's defensive identity heading into the upcoming season. Speculation abounds that Garrett's presence is already influencing the way coaches design schemes, with defensive coordinators allegedly tailoring packages that maximize his ability to wreak havoc on opposing quarterbacks. Sources hint that this isn't merely about Garrett making highlight reel plays. It's about the overall structure of the defense shifting to revolve around his unique skill set. The rumor mill insists that teammates are increasingly looking to Garrett for guidance during practices, meetings, and even in the film room, indicating that his influence extends far beyond the field. If these murmurs prove accurate, the Raiders could be on the verge of cementing themselves as a defensive powerhouse, with Garrett serving as the central cog in a front seven that might challenge the league's elite offenses more consistently than ever before. Observers are eagerly awaiting further confirmation as training camp progresses. Sources close to the organization have been hinting that the Raiders' defensive front seven could be entering a new era under the shadow of Myles Garrett's dominance. And these reports suggest that the team's strategy may be evolving in response to his abilities. Insiders claim that Garrett is not only a terror in pass-rushing situations, but also a stabilizing presence in run defense, a duality that has created speculation about how coaches might leverage his talents to full effect. The buzz around town is that he's influencing teammates' techniques, alignment decisions, and even morale, effectively elevating everyone around him. According to the whispers, Garrett's impact might extend to motivating younger players to adopt a more disciplined, aggressive mindset, with the promise that the Raiders' defensive schemes could become more versatile and unpredictable. Analysts are already theorizing that this potential internal shift could make Las Vegas one of the more difficult teams to scheme against, with opposing offenses needing to account for both his speed and strength in a variety of formations. The rumor mill even suggests that Garrett's leadership could be the catalyst for a broader cultural transformation, where accountability and intensity become the hallmarks of the Raiders' defensive identity, a scenario that has fans buzzing with anticipation as the season approaches. Further speculation has emerged indicating that Myles Garrett's rumored dominance in the Raiders' front seven might force opponents to rethink their entire offensive game plan when facing Las Vegas, a development that could have ripple effects throughout the league. According to insiders, Garrett's combination of athleticism and football IQ is allegedly intimidating enough that quarterbacks might start preemptively adjusting their reads, while offensive lines could be overcompensating to contain him, creating opportunities for the rest of the defense. Rumors suggest that coaches are experimenting with different formations and stunts specifically designed to amplify his disruptive potential, indicating that his role could transcend that of a conventional defensive end. The chatter implies that this strategic evolution could signal a significant shift in how the Raiders approach critical game situations, emphasizing aggression, unpredictability, and constant pressure. Observers speculate that such a transformation might make Las Vegas a more consistent threat in both the regular season and the playoffs, potentially elevating the entire defensive unit to elite status. As these whispers gain traction, analysts and fans alike are closely monitoring practice sessions, player interactions, and media statements to determine whether these reports are more than mere conjecture, fueling excitement and anticipation that the Raiders' defensive future could hinge on Garrett's leadership and presence. Rumors have also hinted that Myles Garrett's supposed leadership in the Raiders' front seven could be influencing not only on-field performance, but also the locker room dynamic, potentially creating a culture shift within the team. According to sources, his intensity, work ethic, and competitive drive are allegedly setting new standards for preparation and accountability, which could impact how teammates approach every aspect of their craft. Insiders suggest that younger players, in particular, might be modeling their routines, drills, and mental approaches after Garrett, reinforcing a cascading effect of elevated professionalism throughout the squad. The buzz indicates that coaches might be strategically leaning on Garrett's presence to instill confidence and cohesion, transforming the front seven into a unified, dominant force. Analysts are speculating that this potential cultural shift could not only make the Raiders' defense more formidable on paper, but also more resilient in high-pressure situations, giving them an edge during close games. With these murmurs circulating, fans and commentators are eagerly watching for signs that Garrett's influence is translating into measurable results on the field, suggesting that the Raiders could be on the cusp of a defensive renaissance that revolves around the skill, determination, and rumored leadership of their standout defensive end. Finally, speculation surrounding Myles Garrett's emerging role as the centerpiece of the Raiders' front seven continues to generate excitement and debate, with insiders asserting that his influence may extend far beyond typical defensive statistics. The rumors suggest that coaches are not only scheming to optimize his pass rush opportunities, but are also integrating his presence into broader defensive strategies, allowing other players to flourish as Garrett draws attention and disrupts offensive timing. Observers hint that this could lead to a domino effect in which multiple players step up their performance, creating a synergy that elevates the entire unit. Analysts are theorizing that if these whispers hold true, Las Vegas could become a destination feared by quarterbacks across the league, with Garrett's leadership transforming the defense into an unpredictable, high-impact force. Fans are reportedly buzzing with excitement over the potential for this internal evolution, while media pundits are debating how sustainable such dominance might be over the long season. Whether these rumors materialize into tangible results remains uncertain, but the prevailing sentiment suggests that Myles Garrett's rumored central role in the Raiders' defensive strategy might define their identity for years to come, making the upcoming season one of the most anticipated in recent franchise history. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.